Okay, expanding logarithms level 2. So it looks a little bit crazier, but it's the same basic idea. So we're going to expand the logarithm fully. I'm just going to scroll down so I have a little bit more space. Let's first split it up into the top and bottom because this is a fraction. So remember, when it's a fraction, you can split it up into two logs that are being subtracted from each other. So we have log of the top part. So that's z to the power of 5. I'm going to cross my z so they don't look like a 2. Minus, and I'm just going to write log of that. I'm not going to change it yet. Okay. I might need more space later, but so far we got this. I'm going to try to write smaller. Okay, so for this beginning log, the log z to the power of 5, we can switch that one by moving our exponents into the front, as you guys probably already know that. So 5 log of z. So that part's done. Okay, this next piece that I'm putting in parentheses now, we can switch that up quite a bit. So give me one moment. Okay, so I put the second log in parentheses because we're going to deal with that one. So our minus sign. Okay, so in our parentheses, we notice that this one is being multiplied to this thing in the value. So we can split that up into two logs that are being added together. So fingers crossed that I can write small enough, but we have log of the cubic root of y squared plus log of x. And I split it up like this because notice these two values are being multiplied together within this log, right? So then we can split it up into two logs that are being added together because that's the rule that we know so far. Okay, before I go on, are there any questions up till here? All right, so from here, let's simplify this even further. So since we have a minus sign and then all of this stuff in parentheses, let's distribute this minus sign to everything. So I'm going to start writing over here because that way I have more space. 5 log of z minus, so we just subtract the log of the cubic root of y squared. And then I'm going to also distribute this minus sign to that one. So it's minus log x. Okay, so all I did here was I distributed that minus sign to everything inside the parentheses because if we're going to just fully expand everything, we don't want parentheses in it either. So far, we have 5 log z minus log of the cubic root of y squared minus log of x. Okay, so there's 2 more steps before we're completely done. And I'm kind of running out of space, but I think I could fit one more line underneath here before I write the answer up top. So 5 log z does not change. That one's as expanded as it gets. Let's simplify this cubic root of y squared. So if you remember that roots can be rewritten as an exponent in fraction form, this can actually be rewritten as y to the power of 2/3. So remember that the radical number, so the cubic root, that becomes the denominator in our fraction. And then the y squared is just that 2 from the squared becomes the numerator of our fractional exponent. And then the minus log x just stays the same there. Okay, so hopefully that looks familiar, that the cubic root of y squared is actually just an exponent of 2/3. And now that we did that, I'm going to write my final answer like up over here in the top because I obviously don't have space. So 5 log z, and then minus this exponent that I just circled gets to be moved to the front, so minus 2/3 log y, and then finally just minus log x. And so this would be our final answer. And so let me pause the recording, see if you guys have any questions. Okay, 5 log z minus 2/3 log y minus log x. And then submit. All right, let's do another maybe 2 or 1, depending on whatever you guys want. Okay, I'm just going to scroll so I have more space. All right, so very similar problem. We have a fraction, so let's split this into 2 logs. I'm going to write it up here because more space. All right, so log of x cubed for the numerator goes first in our first log, and then we're going to subtract log of z squared y, because that was our denominator. So we just split numerator and denominator into first log minus second log. And then from here, we can do the thing with our exponents that we've been doing. So take that exponent and move it to the front. So it's now 3 log x minus, okay, this one has two things multiplied together in our value. So we have the z squared and the y. So I'm going to split that up into log of z squared plus log y. Because that piece that was in our parentheses had two things multiplied together in the values. So we must split that up into two separate logs, still inside the parentheses though. And then from there, we must distribute that negative sign. So I'm just gonna distribute. So we have 3 log x minus log z squared. And then minus again log y. So I've just distributed that minus sign. And then last but not least, we're going to take that exponent that's over here and we're going to move it to the front of this log piece. So we have 3 log x minus, and then the log z squared becomes 2 log z, and then the minus log y stays. And so this would be your final answer. And then I'm going to pause the recording here to see if you guys have any questions. Okay, so we have 3 log x minus 2 log z minus log y. Okay. Let's do one more and then go to the next category. All right, so another fraction. Let's split it up. The numerator goes first. Log of z squared square root of y minus log of x squared. Okay, so the numerator goes first, subtracting the denominator's log next. So this first piece of log that I'm just putting in parentheses now, it has two things multiplied together in the value. So we're going to split that up as we have been doing. And so that becomes log z squared plus log square root of y. So we just split it up into the two logs being added together, and then the minus log x squared just kind of stays the same for now. So I just split up that first log into two separate logs because the value had two things multiplied together, so you split it up into two logs being added together. Now from here, there's no negative sign in front of our parentheses to distribute, so I might as well have not written those parentheses, but I'll just leave them there for now. I'm not going to erase it. Instead, we can focus on our exponents. So log z squared becomes 2 log, oops, that's an ugly g, but 2 log z plus log square root of y. So remember that the square root or any radical can be rewritten as a fractional exponent. So I'm going to rewrite this as log y to the power of, technically there's a 1 over here, so there's 1 on the top for our numerator, over this root is a square root, so there's an invisible 2 there. So it's y to the power of 1/2. And then finally for the log x squared, that's 2 log x. Okay, so from here, all we did was move the exponents to the very front of our logs for the first piece and the last piece. And then in that middle piece, we rewrote the square root as an exponent of 1/2. So one more step is just to take this last exponent and move it to the front. So let's see, I think I can fit it in here. 2 log z plus, so that exponent, the 1/2, goes in the front, 1/2 log y. And then this one we already did, so 2 log x. There we go. And that would be our final answer. I'm not going to put a box around it because I don't think I have enough space to. But let me type it in. And then after I'm done typing it in, you guys can let me know if you have any questions. Okay, and then let's go to the next category.